Welcome to Transforming Work with Sophie Wade, exploring the future of work. Find out what's going on in our multi-generational distributed organizations. With a new tech and talent focus, discover what you need to know to stay upskilled and relevant and ensure your business keeps its competitive edge.
Hi! This episode is about how human-centered design shapes better AI interactions and how we can equip tomorrow's leaders to drive AI-powered transformation across industries. I'm delighted to be speaking with Professor Ayelet Segal PhD, who is a thought leader in generative AI and UX. She is head of the AI and I Lab and academic director of Government and AI, Health and AI, and High AI for scientific research programs at Bar Ilan faculty. She's also an associate professor of HCI, Human-Computer Interaction. Hi, Ilan, how are you?
Hi, Sophie. I'm so excited to be here. I'm good. Thank you so much.
It's been such a long time. I haven't seen you for ages and ages, but very excited because of what you're doing. But we start at the beginning. You studied visual communications to begin with, I believe.
Correct. I studied visual communication, and I was lucky enough to go straight to London, actually, to continue for an MA degree in interactive media.
Ayelet actually designed this incredible interactive math app, and my son played it. It was called, what did you call it?
Math Glow. It actually was as a result of my research in my dissertation at Columbia University. So back then, after working actually in New York in an agency after my London studies, I kind of wanted to pursue a PhD in HCI, in cognitive psychology, education and technology, and focusing on really gestural interfaces. So back then, it was the first iPhone and the first iPad that came out. And what your son played with was the commercial app that I built as a result of my research with schools in Harlem and the Bronx. My dissertation was about how to design better applications. In this particular case, it was for math, but it could be applicable to anything, both looking into the gestures that we want the child or the learner to use, and the touch screen versus the mouth.
Yes.
So it was the first application with iPad that was published on a research of congruent gestures and how to learn better, how to design better an educational application with the iPad and for the iPad. I just want to mention Professor Tversky and Professor Black that were my mentors and co-publishers. So
basically, your entire career since then has really focused on this human-computer interaction, the interaction between humans and technology, and the psychological piece of that as well. How did that start at that beginning and evolved?
So obviously, everyone talks about it. The probably biggest revolution, technological revolution ever, right? So bigger than the industrial revolution. And we did experience a few technological revolutions through the years, right? The mobile revolution as well, after or a little bit after the internet. Each time, when we, for example, started to create the apps, the applications for mobiles, that was also a big behavioral change. So what we research and in HCI, in human-computer interaction, which is my profession, is really about how can we develop a human-centered design interfaces, devices, both hardware and software, that are friendly to the humans, right? That's why we tap into the cognitive psychology aspect. And it's a combination of both cognitive psychology, design skills, and the current technology that it's new and creating these innovative opportunities for us to create new solutions and new devices and new software to different either problems or needs. So we're really researching the needs of the humans, specifically in the area that we're trying to solve a particular problem. And then we're ideating and developing the interfaces and always testing it. Again, it's an iterative process where we always go back and test it with users. We also our research always include experts in the field. So if I'm today going to develop, for example, an agent, a companion that is a companion for mental health, for example, I would obviously research and consult and interview psychologists and maybe social workers and other experts, and not just the potential users.
Technology has been so clunky and unfriendly to users in the past that we've needed managers to sort of help with the interface. But you started the whole thing was you started with the touchscreen and these much more human, intuitive interfaces. And now I see that you're doing stuff which relates to chatbots or avatars versus chatbots. Starting back then, in terms of what you were seeing, having a much more intuitive, more human interface. What difference did that make in terms of how we could use the technology and therefore also how we can be using it going forward?
We have now a technology that could be finally much more natural, right, and human-centered. So one example that I would use, so our company, TouchCast, that were sold recently.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. And it's a company of a video platform that included from the very beginning frontier AI back in 2013 for remote work and for distance learning. Our recent products in the past 5 years are actually one of the products, it's digital twins and avatars that are in a video form. So we developed the Mentoverse, which is, it's called today AI Companions or Napster AI Companions. And we have over 5,000 experts in different fields who are, basically they are agents. It's avatars that looks like us. It could be either your own digital twin or like just a synthetic one, right?
Right. Okay.
Most of them are synthetic, and you could consult with them. So either if you want to consult, like you could have a college coach or a sleeping coach for parents or a business.
And somebody has contributed their knowledge base in order to be able to create this second brain type digital twin that somebody can then interact with.
So there are two areas. So one is this over 5,000 experts that are synthetic mentors that are based on the LLM and our company work. The other one is digital twins of yourself. We can bring all your knowledge base, and it's not just the way you look and talk and sound, but that's what's important, the knowledge base that capture the essence of your, either if you're a professor, then what you teach, or in any profession. Going back to your questions of how it allows us today to have a much more natural interface and interaction. So our experts is basically can converse with you. We have a psychologist, for example. We have doctors, we have business consultant, and they just converse with you regular as I am right now with you. And they also prompt you with questions. They answer you, but they continue the conversation. They would also prompt you into and encourage you. And also they, of course, remember all the former conversations that you had. Let's say you are actually practicing for a job interview, which my son did a year ago with Yeah, with an
All right.
HR expert, and he got
Nice.
in. He got the job.
Oh, he did. Oh,
He did.
fantastic. Okay.
And
Bonus.
basically, he uploaded his CV. We compared it to a regular chat with either ChatGPT, Gemini, doesn't matter which chat box. We compared it, and we saw that our conversations with our video mentors or avatars are much longer and provide
Ah,
a much more
interesting.
rich context and accurate context. Accurate is really important. So we did this experiment, and I think that one of the reasons is because people feel the conversation is much more natural. Our avatar prompt them to continue the conversation versus a chatbot with text. It's a bit different. So we really found differences in that sense,
And you've
which is
also
great.
really trained it very specifically to be in the mode of that HR interviewer or the
True.
psychologist, right? So I
Yeah.
think there's also this aspect of LLMs having personalities. I think it's fascinating because we typically do think of technology as being objective and neutral and it's going to give us the facts. But that's not what LLMs do. And
Right.
if you have started, you were using AI a long time ago at Touchcast, so there may be less of a training data which has so much bias in it, and I don't necessarily mean racial or
Right.
gender bias, but
Gender.
biased about emotion. It's got angst and jealousy and all the different things that we have out there. That has been.
Absolutely.
You have these mentors who are very specifically trained and have these personalities and have these avatars to have stronger, more connected, trusting conversations. When we're thinking now about the human AI, these interactions, I have learned much, much, much more about empathy, about understanding and listening hard and asking questions. And that's been a lot of work, and I'm still learning. We have to do that now also with LLMs. We actually have to
True.
be cognizant of how they may be reacting to our stress and emotions, not the feeling, but the emotions that are baked in, and how we need to be thinking about those when we're asking questions and asking for a range of answers. Please, if you could just explain a little bit more, because you're the person who knows about this stuff. I'm just digging into it now and finding it absolutely fascinating.
So first of all, I always, looked on the LLM. I always tell my students, this is a simulation of our world, right? So whatever is in our world, because it was trained on that, that's like basic to understand that it's not like a search agent, and it's basically a simulation of our world, and it comes with everything that we know about it, with the good things and the bad things, and we need to treat it this way. For our companions, AI companions in Touchcast, I developed basically a model of personality based on a few things.
Okay.
First of all, if you are, for example, an HR consultant versus a business consultant or a psychologist, let's say, the avatar, the profession should have different type of personalities, because that's what we expect. The psychologist
Okay.
maybe should be more empathetic, and the business consultant maybe should be more assertive,
Right. Yep.
right? Or at
Yep.
least,
That
so
makes sense.
I developed a personality model for our avatars, which is based on the 5 personality traits from psychology.
Right.
And we added many more other traits, like 130 different parameters. One was related to, okay, what do we expect, or what would be the best traits from a psychologist versus HR consultant, and so on. The second thing was, it depends on who you talk to, right? Let's say I'm a doctor and I'm talking to a colleague of mine.
Right.
Even the terminology would be different when I
For sure.
converse with him. But if I'm talking to a patient of mine, So the interaction and the conversation type would be
Right.
completely different. So that was another aspect. Who is in front of me? So we wanted to create a more realistic and more appropriate type of interaction to each type of profession and based on who you talk to.
And from what I understand, LLMs pair with different types of human personality types. They work better or worse together. Somebody is a very calm, relaxed, whatever, dealing with your business consultant avatar is going to feel differently than somebody who is who is talking to the psychologist in a particular environment. Now, when people are just interacting with whatever LLM it is,
right.
ChatGPT, how can they be using this knowledge that you have, the experience that you have, to be thinking about LLMs or the way they're interfacing differently to get better answers?
It's about the context that you feed it, and then it's learning you through time, and it's adjusting the answer based on that. So you really want to be cognizant about that.
Right.
Because you're creating a kind of a tower, a foundation of who you are. And I think people don't realize that.
I really think they don't. And I also think part of that is that most people don't know themselves very well. And I have had to learn a lot more about myself in order to be empathetic and learn about others, because I can't begin to understand somebody else if I don't know more about myself. One of the things that sort of came through this is like, I need to have self-awareness about what kind of pressure, how I'm asking questions, because now I'm understanding that that's actually going to generate a particular type of response, because the LLM is actually going to react to my emotion or my stress or whatever it is. I have to be cognitive about what it is that I'm bringing to the table, because this is actually a two-way street.
Totally. The interaction is two-way. And another thing, I know many families, including ourselves, that we use the same account because we didn't want to pay $200, whatever,
Oh,
so at the
my
beginning,
God. So it's getting confused.
And it's
like,
problem.
Who's talking to
me? So after a couple of months, we said, no more. We need to have our own accounts. For us, it's like, the professional.
I had to ask, how did that show up? Was the response kind of like, hang on a second, you weren't asking me this kind of question before? What?
It's a problem. It's
that
not,
is funny. I didn't even think of that.
It's like a family account, kind of, right? You could learn a lot about the family this way, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe that's an interesting
hang on a
startup,
second.
maybe.
I love that. I love it. We've got a new startup idea. So to that idea of startups, friction. You're teaching university students about AI, and this idea of friction, there is so much more that we can be achieving now we have these powerful tools. How are you helping instill in students this idea of what more that they can be reaching now that we have these tools? It's allowing us to do that much more. How are you proposing in class, like, to stretch themselves, not to be using AI to not cheat or just like, make it easier, but to really sort of saying like use this as a platform to launch yourself that much further?
We have superpower now, right? So that's how we should treat it, as a fully cognitive partner, that we can think with it together, but we need to guide it properly, and we need to build the right framework and context, and to really amplify whatever we do. If we're students that study, computer science, or if we're a student that study psychology or a profession, right? If we work at different professions, it could amplify anyone in our own profession. But right now, because we are at the beginning, at the diapers of the revolution, we really need to be creative about how to use it and develop our own methodologies in a creative way, how to use it to expand our abilities. So, for example, I teach a lot of UX researchers, because this is a profession of human-computer interaction.
Sure.
I remember many of them asked me about, okay, so there are not gonna be any more UX researchers because the AI could do so much of it, right? And I said, well, it's not there are not going to be any more UX researcher, but your profession as a UX researcher is changing, and it's going to allow you to do so much more. First of all, on a scale, just much more research, and in a much deeper way. So one of the things that I developed from my own need as a UX researcher 3 years ago, at the very beginning, was developing new research methodologies with the AI to build synthetic personas, to build synthetic interviews for UX research when I don't have users and I can't interview them, for example, or to do the analysis with the AI, right? But it's amplify my profession because suddenly I could do not just so more, but also in a much in-depth way. So in any profession, I think this is the case today.
You were saying that before we started, that you're also helping this in the direction of scientific research. You have actually created a framework to help people sort of push further into, help researchers use these superpowers. I think it's helpful to, with new frameworks, to really see how that might be applied in other ways and in other areas, as a means, as a methodology.
So at the university, one of my main things as the AI and I head of lab is basically working with especially life sciences and STEM labs on their research and creating a framework for their labs to integrate the artificial intelligence, the AI, into every stage of the research. And in order to really manage to have scientific breakthroughs, and we built, I initiated a program that's called High AI with in our faculty with 2 other professors, and we actually trained 25 professors from our top labs at the university. But it's not about how to use the tools. It's a part of it is, but a big part of it, it's a new way of thinking. Really a new way of thinking together, like I said at the beginning, that the AI is your cognitive partner and at every stage of the research. So one example I could give you is that every research has his own research questions, right? That he's worried about and he wants to research. But we could take one step back and actually think together with the AI about new research questions, about problems that we could not solve before. But together with the AI, we can think about the actual questions, research questions, and then develop the solution together with the AI. And this is a framework. It's not one prompt and it's not one specific tool, or, it is a process, a whole framework that I developed. And that's what I research in my lab in collaboration with the other laboratories, and actually with the collaboration with the Google and some tools of Google's specifically for researchers.
One can get much more depth and texture, with this cognitive part to debate back and forth, that can be pulling in more research and really sort of pushing you and you pushing it to get much more as a sort of the initial kernel, or the initial questions you're saying, and then to be developing from there. You've also mentioned that in 3 areas, you're helping people as they're doing their typical BA or MA course, their typical degree course. You're helping, because this is so important in terms of education and the changes that are needed to upgrade education. You're helping them understand how to be preparing themselves for work, their work lives, whatever area. There are three different areas that you talked about going into. One was government, health and pharma, and then also in product management. The fact that it's also in parallel with whatever degree that people are doing, because I think this is right now we're going through transformation. It is the mindset. It is the methodology. So how are you helping people do that? Let's just say a product manager type, or maybe it's life sciences, or who are how they need to start thinking how they need to be testing themselves, or whatever it is that's going to help them when they leave college, university, to be better prepared.
So first of all, we identified a huge gap, right now in industry, both in the public sector and the private sector, of roles. It's new roles actually of AI implementation in different fields. Like it's basically management roles. So we understood that we need to prepare our students for that. So we established 3 programs. A yearly program that every student from each faculty in either a BA degree or MA degree can join that for a full year. And in 3 main sectors. So one of them, we realized that in the health and pharma domain, there's a real need for change makers that would come in a mid-level management role and would know how to identify both the challenges and the opportunities in, let's say, a hospital of problems that the AI could actually solve. And then they would manage a team, internal team or external team, and lead that change and implement these solutions. So we prepared them. Yes.
Right.
So and they could study in their degree.
So you're helping them be the transformers, the transformative partners as they launch. Oh my God, that's exciting.
And think about it. These are juniors that come out from the university and can become immediately a mid-level manager because of the skills that we're providing them. Because it's such an exciting program, and the other one is in the sector of government and the public sector, and product management. We managed to bring so many great mentors from both from industry and academia, really senior people, like people that heading departments in the best hospitals here, people from great high-tech health companies or government-based companies, because these are like depending on the program that we are looking into.
It's very exciting for me in particular because when these young people come into the organizations, one, it's helping them be hired and have very specific skills that are needed. They also don't have entrenched views about how that hospital or how that government department has been run before. And so they can bring a fresh perspective. Now, there are going to be some challenges in terms of ways of doing things and, what that's going to mean. And so I think some soft skills are going to be super important as well. And I'm very curious as to how you tackle that aspect of it. It allows that first principles approach. So how do you also prepare them, not just for the work design, the UX, all those design aspects of it, but also how they're going to make that happen. There's soft skills that are going to make that happen.
This is exactly one of the most important aspects of the program. This is a really prestige program. It's an honored program, actually. And we're looking into students that are leaders, that are entrepreneurs, that are creative. But at the same time, we also train them for that. So there are 5 courses through the year, okay? And the 4th course is all about leadership and organizational technology for change. There's a full course just about that, because in order to be a change maker and to lead and to know how to gather around you, the people that could help you push the change, and at the same time, how to, deal with some conflicts that of people that are against change, you really need to learn that. And for that, we also brought really great mentors that are expert in that and teach executives, CEOs, and so on. So you were right on spot. This is super important. It's not just the content of, the actual, like we said, like the challenges in health and the opportunities, or the actual AI and how to use it. It's really about how to lead a change. And I think today we actually had an exposure day, an open house for these programs at the university. And I could see the students that got excited. And I told them, this is also, they're very lucky to be exactly at this time, because if they're going to get into that now, they're going to continue to lead it for years and years. And people that are going to skip that or delay their intervention, I think they probably, maybe they'll be okay, but they not going to be the leaders, because you really need to to learn that right now.
When I think about some of the large enterprises, they do have, often very set ways of doing things. They have a lot of structure, they have a hierarchy. So it's really, really hard. And I think it's also really hard when you have someone really young trying to be disruptive in the best way possible. And so I think may end up being easier for them going into younger companies which are smaller with, fewer layers of hierarchy, less rigid structures, which then allows those companies to be supercharged. So that may, accentuate the difference between some of the larger companies and some of the younger tech-based ones. Right. And
I like
exactly. That has been happening anyway, technology-wise, and even when it comes to flexible working or hybrid working, because there's much more of a mindset of, oh, okay, something new. Let's just see what we can do with it, how it works. Is it meaningful? Does it get in our way, or does it actually help us be more flexible type thing? And so I think this is the same idea. And there's also more understanding of the fact that younger people, you may not like how they speak, you may not want them to speak up quite as much, but they actually have a lot to say right now.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think that's going to be an interesting, some interesting challenges and huge opportunities. You're at the cutting edge of so much exciting stuff that's happening, these scientific breakthroughs, talking to young people in particular who have such fear about AI, and there's, this terrible dystopian, the worst case scenarios. What do you say to students in terms of kind of like, it's going to be okay, it's not everything's going to collapse, and it's not going to be the end of work.
Right.
Because you're so deep in it, what's your personal reaction to that, but also what's your sort of logical rationale in terms of the opportunities?
Right.
Yeah.
So I actually just had yesterday a conversation with a potential student that wanted to check with me how she can either work or come to study at our program. And she told me at the beginning, she said, and she used to work in the high-tech area.
Okay.
And she said, I'm really frightened because of AI and I'm overwhelmed. Okay, so people are totally overwhelmed. And so my first response is, I'm overwhelmed too. So everyone is overwhelmed, not just her. And I'm in the frontier and I've been doing it, I'm teaching it, I've been 30 years in the field, blah, 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 blah. And I'm also overwhelmed because, like we said, it's growing so fast. But what I also say is a few things. It's a superpower, right? And you can really extend your mind with it, and your profession. And every one of us should explore it within the context of our profession. She's actually working in a nursing house and supporting the elderly. She's a young person, but that's what she do, and she wants to go back to high tech, but within mental health area. Okay. And I told her, why don't you use your profession right now and find out the different needs of these people and how you can solve something with developing for them a vibe coding app, which is very easy just from a prompt, right?
Right.
So suddenly, within it was a phone conversation of like maybe 20 minutes, and she already had 2 ideas of how she can help 2 people.
Love it.
I was so excited, and she got super excited. She didn't even know what vibe coding is, which is okay because it's so easy to explain it.
Yeah,
I told, and she promised that she's going to go in and she's try to create it, and then she could show it in an interview as well, so
fantastic.
I told her it's so exciting. They they're going to be bad actors, and they're going to be some things that's going to happen that's going to be scary with AI, but there's so much good that we can do, and we can solve so many problems that we could not solve before, in sustainability, in politics and wars, in health, in education.
It's amazing.
It's endless.
And also in lots and lots and lots of little areas like this, that somebody who is just taking care of elderly people can suddenly come up with 2 ideas in 20 minutes. And that's where I suddenly got, I mean, I get goosebumps about that, because this vision of how much can be done by people who now have, particularly under 45 or under 40, who kind of sort of say, well, I have this idea. Well, what can I do with it? And can really go for it and, vibe code it. It is affordable entrepreneurship. Now, lots of things fail, but maybe she even only serves the people actually in the facility that she's working at, in her particular nursing home. And that can mean that her job is easier. She can have more fun. She maybe, creates a game that some of the people can play. And she there's
talked
a whole
about
different
game, actually.
Oh, really? So,
yes.
but that would be so cool. It's like, then you create a whole new local environment that you have contributed to, and it just makes your job, your work so much more fun too. What do you see in terms of some of these opportunities that are coming up, or other elements that you are particularly focused on, over the next 3-5 years, which are going to be pretty messy and exciting, but messy.
I'm so excited to be a part of that, the time that we live at, honestly. And I do believe, I'm optimistic, because I think we have, of course, big problems to solve in the world. And honestly, I do believe, and I see it every day actually happening already, we will manage to solve many, many of these complicated problems if we just gonna put our head into that directions and focus on the good things that we can do. And it's honestly in any domain almost, if it's sustainability, health, education, politics, we do have, every one of us have a superpower, and we should use it to do good in the world. And it's exciting times, and we should focus on that. So my focus is educating the new generation or the young generation, trying to, achieve that, and also working with the labs for scientific breakthrough to saving more life. So that's, I hope I could do a little bit.
Well, listening to how we can really be thinking about the positive aspects of AI with a human focus, really thinking about the sort of the psychological aspects of this as we're building and making sure that we're really being thoughtful about that and being tuned into that in order to be able to create these, very powerful results is wonderful. And it's so great to one, reconnect with you, Ayelet, and to hear some of the things that you're working on and educating the next generation to help accelerate that and be developing, some really exciting things in the future. So thank you so much for your time and sharing what you have.
Thank you so much, Sophie. I'm really grateful for this opportunity and was so excited to connect again. Thank you so much.
Thanks again so much to Professor Ayelet Segal PhD, head of the AI and I Lab at Bar Ilan. You can find out more about Ayelet on LinkedIn. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend and like it. You can also write a quick review wherever you watch or listen. For regular video updates, curated useful articles, research, and information, follow me on LinkedIn and sign up for my Work in Progress newsletter on Substack or LinkedIn. Thanks for watching. Until next time.